Okay, good morning. Let me just kind of start in the beginning and just give you kind of what's going on here. We start with last Wednesday, November 22nd. The individual, the minor in question here, was staying with his grandmother down in the Jacksonville area, Neptune Beach, which is just directly east of Jacksonville, on the coast there of the Atlantic Ocean. He stays with his father. His father has custody of him. The father was on vacation, and he was staying with his grandmother while the father was on vacation. The father was returning from vacation last Wednesday, was supposed to be picked up at the airport, and was not picked up. He then apparently got a ride back to his house and found his home in disarray, and guns were missing from the home. The investigators in Florida then went to the grandma's house, which is a separate home from where the young man and his father lived down in Florida. They went to grandma's house. They found her car missing, and they subsequently found her dead in a shallow grave where she was stabbed and shot. The initial arrest warrant was made for the vehicle. Up here in New York, it's called grand larceny. Down in Florida, it's called grand theft auto. So the arrest warrant was issued for grand theft auto on the vehicle at the time. That arrest warrant was issued last week. We now fast forward to Saturday. We can just presume, obviously, from Wednesday to Saturday, that the young man was driving up here to this area. We have no indication at all that he has any connections to the Buffalo area. It seems that he just randomly came up here and tried to cross at the Peace Bridge into Canada. He made a U-turn on the Peace Bridge on Saturday, and the Border Patrol pulled him over, obviously, for making a U-turn. They subsequently found that, first, he didn't have a license. He's 15 years old. But they subsequently found guns in the car. They also found a knife in the car with what appears to be blood on the knife. They obviously held the individual. He's been held since Saturday in the East Ferry Juvenile Detention Center. And the very first proceeding was going to take place on Monday morning. The proceeding on Monday morning was going to be in family court, where, quite frankly, we really have no jurisdiction at all in family court. The county attorney's office, they are the office here in Erie County that has jurisdiction in family court. The reason why it was in family court on Monday morning is because, again, at that time, the only warrant that was issued was for the grand theft auto. And the grand theft auto is a crime with a juvenile that would take place, that would occur here in New York in family court, the same in Florida. That crime in Florida would be handled in family court as well. So that proceeding was going to take place on Monday morning in family court. The young man's defense lawyer did not appear on Monday morning. He called in the family court on Monday morning and asked for an adjournment until this morning. In the interim, at 11 o'clock on Tuesday, yesterday, a judge in Florida issued an arrest warrant for murder, for the murder of the grandmother. So once the arrest warrant on the murder was issued, that changed the dynamics of where the young man is now going to come to court. Because now, instead of it being under the Interstate Compact Agreement on Juveniles, which was what governed the Monday morning procedure, now the Uniform Extradition Act is in play now because of the murder charge. And under the Uniform Extradition Act, the proceedings can take place either in family court or here in county court. And after talking with the district attorney's office, or called state attorneys in Florida, after talking with the state attorney's office in Florida, we made the decision to bring it over here to county court because we wanted to ensure that the young man was held in custody. Under the Interstate Compact Agreement on Juveniles, a family court judge theoretically could release the boy to his parents. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that at all, but that is a possibility. And apparently, from information that I'm being told, the biological mother lives in Missouri, the father's in Florida. There's some tension there, from what I understand, and we didn't want to take the chance that a family court judge released the boy to his mother. So, in county court here, under the Uniform Extradition Act, as long as the crime has a life punishment component to it, which the murder charge does in Florida, the judge here in county Supreme Court has to remand the individual. They cannot set bail. So we were assured that the boy was going to be kept in custody here in county court, Supreme Court. So that's why we took it over, and we were scheduled for a hearing this morning. The attorney appeared this morning, but the attorney again asked for 48 hours to apparently talk to his client and to make a decision on whether or not they were going to waive the hearing and return to Florida. Now, I know that the attorney on the record and spoken to you, made some comments about, that the boy is faced with murder. There are a lot of theories on what happened down there, et cetera, et cetera. The fact of the matter is that that's all irrelevant. The hearing that's being held this morning, there's only two scenarios that can happen here. One, the individual waives the hearing and consents to go back to Florida. That's option number one. Option number two is the individual says that I'm not the person who's listed on that warrant, and therefore I don't want to go back to Florida. Again, they're not saying that I didn't do the crime. That's not the issue here. The facts of the matter and the actual elements and what happened as far as a crime is concerned down in Florida is irrelevant. The only issue is whether or not I am the person who's listed name-wise on the warrant. That's it. So, whatever delay tactic the defense lawyer wants to take here, all it's doing is basically keeping this guy here in custody in New York, a little while longer. If he doesn't waive the hearing and doesn't consent, and again, not consenting to the crime, just consenting that he's the person who's on the warrant. If he doesn't consent, then what's going to happen is that the governor now of New York State, Governor Cuomo, his office, will do the paperwork up, send it to the governor in Florida, and have the governor in Florida sign the warrant. And then once the governor of Florida signs the warrant, the person's going back to Florida. So all this is a delay tactic, which is fine. There's no skin off me. I mean, he's going to sit in custody the whole time here, and he either goes back to Florida. If he waives the hearing and consents that he's the individual, he has 10 days for Florida. Florida has 10 days to come up here and get him, and he'll be returned to Florida within 10 days. If he doesn't consent, and there has to be a governor's warrant issued, it could take a few months, and he'll be here in custody in Buffalo for a few months. So that's really the only difference of what happened today and what the delay in today is going to do. So that's kind of where we stand. That's kind of the historical background of what happened here and where we're at right now and where we're going in the future. Where we're going in the future is that we're returning to court on Friday morning, and at that time, the defense has a decision to make. They can either waive the hearing and consent to go back to Florida, or they can fight it. And if that happens, then, like I said, the governor's office will prepare the paperwork, send it to the governor of Florida, and the governor of Florida will sign a warrant and come up here and get the young man. Any questions?
Will he be tried as an adult?
Yes, in Florida, yes.
We've heard a lot of information coming out in court this morning about how the grandmother died. The attorneys had mentioned that. But can you elaborate somewhat on what happened there? And
No, because I don't want to prejudice their case down in Florida. I mean, all the reason why we wanted to give certain facts on what happened to the judge today is that we wanted to ensure that the judge remanded the individual in custody here. We wanted to make sure the judge kept him in jail. So we wanted to give the judge enough information that the arrest warrant for murder in Florida is legitimate. That the authorities in Florida obviously had enough information to get a judge in Florida to sign the arrest warrant, and we wanted to tell the judge that this is a serious matter and that the individual is facing a life sentence potentially in Florida, and therefore you need to remand him here in Buffalo.
If this is ultimately just delaying the inevitable of Mott going back down to Florida,
Totally.
I mean, in your professional opinion, how does this benefit the defense?
I mean, I'll put my defense hat on, I guess now. I mean, it gives the defense some more time to think about how they want to handle the case. It'll obviously delay the proceedings in Florida because if the young man is returned to Florida within 10 days, then they're obviously going to they're going to arraign him down there, put him before the grand jury down there, and the case will be on the calendar and get moving in Florida. If you keep him up here for 60 days, then that delays the trial in Florida by 2 months. So that may give the defense more time to figure out their strategy. I guess I guess there's reasons why to do it. But you're absolutely correct, though. I mean, it doesn't. These proceedings that are occurring up here have nothing to do with whether or not he's guilty or innocent. So there's no benefit legally, procedurally, to quote game the system up here with regard to the hearing. All it is doing is delaying the inevitable, like you said.
So the governor's warrant, can that be shortened, that time?
Oh yeah, it can. Yeah.
Because of the case and
yes.
the magnitude of it, I guess.
Yep. Yep. I mean, again, we see these a lot, in different cases up here. It could take 2 weeks, it could take 2 months. I mean, yes, it definitely can be expedited. Absolutely.
Would you be surprised to see it extradited?
What's that?
Would you be surprised if they decided to hold a hearing and delay it?
Nothing would surprise me.
Do you know where the 3 guns and the knife with what looks like blood were recovered?
In the car.
They were recovered in the car, okay.
And were they the father's guns that were reported missing?
Yes.
And what's happening with that evidence now?
It's been sent back down to Florida.
I'm sorry.
It was sent back down to Florida.
It's already been sent back down to
Yep.
the car as well?
I'm not sure about the car. I know the weapons have it. The car I'm not sure about.
And the knife as well?
Yes. Yep.
There had to be some sort of physical evidence to make this arraignment this morning. Was that the physical evidence that was in question from?
The proceeding this morning, all we needed was a warrant. So once the judge in Florida signed the arrest warrant for murder, then we can have the hearing this morning. But you're right, though. There obviously had to be some physical evidence for the judge to sign a warrant in Florida.
We don't know what that is.
Correct. No, I don't know that. I mean, and quite frankly, if I did, I wouldn't tell you anyway. I don't want to handicap my brethren in Florida.
Any idea of the timeline about how long the boy was in custody with his grandmother? How long the dad was on vacation?
No, I don't know. All I know is that the dad apparently was on vacation. He was away, and he was supposed to be picked up at the airport on Wednesday, and he wasn't picked up.
So many people have said this is a sad story.
Oh my God! I mean, anytime anyone's murdered, it's a sad story. But we have a young man here who, again, allegedly is being charged with with killing his grandmother. I mean, you know, I think all of us, you know, as kids, you know, revere our grandmothers. I mean, I know I did, both of them, and you know, it's a special relationship that you have with your grandparents, and obviously, like I said, anytime you kill anyone, it's tragic. But to again, allegedly, you know, kill your grandmother, that takes it to a whole nother level.